Welcome to tutorial 5. Today we're going to be working with the Vegetation tool. So the first thing to set up this tool, we need to go up to the asset browser, go down to Levels, right click it, and say Add Directory. So we're going to call this Custom, and Levels is where all of your maps and things are saved, so it's fine to save something inside of here. And then right click in the open space and say Create Entity Template. So we need to name this something like Custom Vegetation. Right? So that's our template. So it's the same idea as, you remember we opened an entity template of the house before in tutorial 2. So the entity template is just this blueprint in which we can add meshes and they'll remain in that position. So let's double click this, go into template properties. This is the entity editor. So we'll hit the green arrow, and we just need a more specific type of entity, which is a foliage entity. So just go down to that, hit OK, hit save, and then close this editor. And now this is a foliage entity. So in my scene, I've got a layer open called Painted Vegetation. So I can go into my browser with this template and just drag it onto the terrain. Close your browser, and now if we hit the plus sign, you can see it's right there. Foliage entity. So I'm going to go back to my vegetation tool, and you'll see the foliage entities is empty. So let's deselect and reselect, and it pops in. Okay, so now it's open, and that means this entire layer is free for us to add in different types of meshes. So we'll go up to the browser and we'll pick the types that we want. So just go down to vegetation, go to trees, and select whatever you want. Right click and add it, just like with the gardener tool. So we'll go down to the dragon thorn plant, add that. We're going to go to, this one looks good, add that. And then I'm also going to want this pumpkin for a little bit later. So I've got 4 different plants here, and I can select any of them. Go up to Paint Vegetation, make sure that's selected, and now you'll see I've got a yellow circle around my cursor. So I can just paint in whatever I've got selected. If I hit the dragon thorn plant, paints those in. They're very small because I'm zoomed way out. So there they are, way down on the floor. Paint these guys in. Okay, and then I could even select all of them, select as many as I want, and it will just drop in whatever I've got selected. So I can shift click and it will delete whatever I have selected. Okay, so if I go up here to brush radius, it just increases or decreases the size of my brush. So the trees are like paint. Alright, so I increase the brush size, more can come out. Also, I can control it with alpha. This is just like the transparency in Photoshop. If I push it all the way to this side, that's full. Like, let me increase the radius here. I'll delete these. If I increase the radius and I've got full alpha, there's just going to be a ton of trees. Okay. If I decrease the alpha all the way down here, almost to 0, there's only a few trees. So we'll push alpha all the way back up, and we'll look at another way to control how many trees are going to come out of this brush. So the density at 1 is going to be full. That's kind of counterintuitive, but if we increase it to say 25, there are a lot less trees coming out. We're close to the map now, so you can actually see the rate at which they fill in. So that's at density 50 with a very large radius. Okay, so we'll go down to 1 again. And the next way to control density is the radius scale. So if we come down here with a density of 1, I'm going to delete these. I'm going to say density 1, and down here at the base, imagine if there's a little circle around each one of these trees, and that's the sort of like the personal space of the tree. So that's what you control with radius scale. So at 1, it's a very small circle. You can go all the way up to 5. So let's delete these, and then we'll paint in 5s. So these trees don't like to be next to each other. Those over there have radius scale of 1. They're like right next to each other. These guys have 5. This guy has a circle of 5. This guy has a circle of 5. And they will only meet at that boundary, no closer. The next thing you need to be aware of is if we've got density at 1, I'll delete these and I'll just paint. I'm going to cover the entire map. Now let's fly over. So there's trees all the way out to the end of this map. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with this max render distance. Let's get down here. Okay, there we go. So this is 10. This is 30, let's say. This is 50. Okay, so you see these trees just gradually coming in. Alright, so we're right on top of the trees. We're going to go to 60. We're going to go to 150. That's what the default is. But that's not the limit. Every mesh has its own number. So the number for these will go up to 280. And I'm going to go up just a little bit higher so you can see with the white background. 290 is the magic number. You might have seen a couple pop in back here. If we go to 300, nothing. 290 is the number for the burned pine tree. So let's delete these, all of these, so that our performance is not affected. And I'm going to show you the difference with the pumpkin. I'm going to get down really close. We will paint pumpkins out to the edge. Okay, so there's, you can see the edge right there. That is full distance on a pumpkin patch. But it's not 150. That's what's interesting. Let's go down to 70. No change. Let's go to 60 and then 50. You saw a little bit of change on the edge. So it's actually about 52. That's basically the magic number for a pumpkin. Basically what they're going for is the horizon line. They're trying to make it so that, you know, if you're down here on the map, you're not really going to be able to see that far. But with a tree, if a tree is standing up this tall, you need it to be able to, you know, be seen at a long distance. That's why the number is so much higher. So that's a size 1 pumpkin. And you can go all the way up to a size 5. That's a size 5 pumpkin. But if you want to go even bigger than that, you can actually vary the size by an additional 5 points. So that's going to be a size 10. It's actually much bigger than the 5. This right here is probably like an 8. It's slightly bigger than the 5, but it's not as big as the full size one. So you can see there's a variation in all of these sizes. If we push it down to a 1, hit enter, that's going to give us from size 1, which is actually here, it's much smaller than our bottom on this little patch. That might be a 2 right there, but it gives us a big variation. So it's like a 1 through, I'm not sure if this is a 6, but that's the biggest pumpkin. So these numbers are kind of sketchy. You can't really tell what they're doing. Just be aware that this means like 1 plus 5. So it's like a 1 through 6. And the biggest size you can get is a 5 through 10. It's going to give you very big pumpkins, but you have to have a baseline in order to add that extra 5 to it. Alright, so that's an interesting thing. You can control rotation, so all of these pumpkins that I put in now will be looking the same direction. You can add collision. It's not going to do like the gardening tool. It's actually going to add collision to every single pumpkin that's on the map. And we're going to go ahead and test that. So we've got our path area in there. We're going to hit navigation mesh. Go ahead and process this. I deleted some of the pumpkins out of here, and now I'm going to collect geometry and build the navigation mesh. Let's go ahead and play this. All of these pumpkins have collision, and these size 1s feel just right. These almost feel right, but you saw me clip into that one. Now watch this big one. I can go straight through it, but I run into that tiny collision mesh down in the inside. So just be aware of that. The other thing is you can't go in and individually affect these. It's not like the gardener tool. You know, if my tool is closed, I can't go in here and pick one of these and try to scale it up or scale it down. It's a mesh that's built into a blueprint. It is permanently like this. There's no changing it. You can only delete it and then repaint something to replace it. So that's how the vegetation tool works. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and again, have fun modding.